Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. In today's video, I'm going to be tackling a topic I've seen a lot of people be confused about and argue about, and that is what is better and what should you play, King's Legacy or Blox Fruits. If you want the answer right now, then just skip to this timestamp. But if you want to see how I came to get this answer, then keep watching because I evaluate every single aspect. Now, let's get straight into the video.
Pick it up, bro. Baby girl, watch how you move. I got them vests on my shoes. I pop up, put it out loose. Wait, speed it up. Look at the diamonds, they eat it up. Got me two bitches, I beat it up. They thinking no wife and deleting them. Oh wait, Price in, call up rock. Follow that like a sock. Niggas though, yeah, I got it. Open this if you can't lock it. Sipping that white, yeah, go to the top. I say yo, bitch, what the fuck? She like to suck on my clock. I get the money, don't stop. Next time.
Okay guys, as I said, welcome back to another video. Before we actually start comparing these two games, first, I want to show you guys the 4 different categories I'm going to be basing them on. Number 1 is graphics. Number 2 is how close it is to the anime. Number 3 is the devil fruits, weapons, and fighting styles, attack design. And the final category is going to be the actual gameplay, meaning how fun it is and how difficult it is. So now, without further ado, let's start off with the graphics. The running in both games is just normal. It's not different from any other game, so we don't really have to get into that. After that, we have jumping and double jumping. Blox Fruit jumping is a little bit unique because of the flip it has, but the multi-jumping is kind of boring, just a small circle and white lines. But the King Legacy one has a boring regular jump, but an awesome multi-jump, because it puts a cloud under you, as if you are bringing all the air under you to help you jump, which is a cool little touch to the game. After jumping, we have dashing. The King Legacy dash feels very dynamic, because the lines are thin and they go fast. But the Blox Fruit dash is very basic, and it looks like nobody really put a lot of work into it. Next up is the weapon design. Now, the graphics on the weapons are decent in both games, so if you think one or the other is better, honestly, it's just based on opinion. I said I wouldn't bring any opinions into it, so we're just gonna stop here and move on to the Devil Fruits design. The Devil Fruits are definitely better in King Legacy, no questions asked. Even if they aren't similar to the anime, the Blox Fruits are basically just blocks, just recolors of each other. As you can see, the berry and the flame fruit in Blox Fruits are basically the same, but in King Legacy, they at least have some design. Now, next move on to the islands. In both games, islands are good, but let's compare a few. The first one we can compare is Marineford. The Blox Fruits Marineford is bigger and feels like it has more design and work put into it. The King Peace one is smaller and feels less detailed, but let's not base it all on one island. The next one is the Starter Island. The Starter Island looks good in both, but most people I've met agree that the King Legacy one is better overall because it has more quests. The final few things we're going to talk about in the graphics section are the oceans, ships, and NPCs. Both games have good NPCs, but the oceans and ships in King Legacy are just way better with just the ship's dynamics and the ocean as well. And now that we're done with the graphics, we can finally move on to the gameplay. The gameplay in both games is great with the exploration and PvP, but King's Legacy has a small edge in the funness part of it. King's Legacy is about 2 to 3 times easier to level up, and even though the level cap may be higher, it's still fun and nice seeing how fast you are leveling up. This makes it harder to give up and boosts your confidence and happiness overall. Another factor about the gameplay is NPC grinding. Blox Fruits and King Legacy have similar regular quests, but the boss quest is where they differentiate from. Blox Fruits boss quests have slow respawn waits, but a bunch of XP. King Legacy bosses spawn fast, but don't give as much XP proportional to your average boss. This gets really annoying sometimes when you get one level for defeating a whole King Legacy boss, but overall it's not that big a deal. I found most people I asked though prefer the slow spawn but high XP bosses. Tell me what you think down below. Another point is that Blox Fruits, the PvP isn't always on. When you die, it turns off, and you control when you turn it back on. This can sometimes be nice when low-level players are being targeted by high levels. One last point is that King Legacy's higher graphics overall makes the game feel better, which makes the gameplay more fun. That's pretty much it for the gameplay section, so let's move on to the Devil Fruits, weapons, and fighting styles attack animation section. Now that we've moved on, first we are going to start with the Devil Fruits. We have two different examples here. First, Magma. In Blox Fruits, the Magma's first move, the Fist, looks really boring, and honestly, it looks like they just took a lava texture from Minecraft. But for King Legacy, it's actually meteors, which look really cool and have a really cool animation that goes up and then back down your enemy. The second move I wanted to talk about was the animal-based move. The wolf in Blox Fruits doesn't have super long range, and honestly, it does look kind of weird. Like it doesn't really look cool at all. I think it's just because of the lava textures, but the King Legacy one also has its downsides because it has good lava textures, but it doesn't really look like an animal. So now that we've gone over that, let's go to the next fruit, the Flame Fruit. The first skill we're going to go over in the Flame Fruit is the Firefly or the bullets. In King Legacy, it has a super unique and cool animation where it shoots these small pellets that explode on impact, which are really cool. In Blox Fruits, it's a little bit more boring because it's literally just a recolor of the dark fruits, dark rocks. But that is kind of boring and takes away all the uniqueness of the Flame Fruit. The second move we're going to go over in the Flame Kit is the Flame Pillar. The Flame Pillar for the Blox Fruits doesn't really even look like fire at all. It just looks like an orange pillar going up and hitting anybody near you. But in King Legacy, the Flame Pillar is actually flames. It looks really cool and it gives burn effect. For both Magma and Flame, they both have burn effect, but in Blox Fruits, neither of them do, which adds more uniqueness to the King's Legacy game. Now that we've done the Devil Fruits, let's move on to the weapons. The weapons in both games are kind of good, but King Legacy has a definite edge. First example we'll have is the Shark Saw from the boss from Arlong Park. Arlong's Shark Saw is cool design, but the attack effects in both games are completely different. As you can see from Blox Fruits, the first attack is literally the same attack from the mace, just changed into the Shark Saw attack, which makes you kind of feel cheated that you worked so hard to get that weapon when it's exactly the same as one that's easier to get. This first move from King Legacy is a lot better because it shows a really realistic shark that looks really cool, and when it hits the enemies, it explodes into water. This is like so unique, and it makes the game feel so much better because even a weaker sword in that game has such cool effects, and it makes the game just so much more fun. The second move for Blox Fruits has a spinning ability that is kind of hard to control, but it is decent. But the King's Legacy is literally just a better version of it. It spins you around and keeps your enemy in place. The second weapon we are going to be talking about is Shanks' Saber. In Blox Fruits, the first move is just a dash that is honestly really boring. The second move is just 3 slashes, and it is literally just a recolor of the double katana's second move, which honestly is really disappointing considering Shanks is one of the strongest in the manga and anime. In King Legacy, the first move is a really cool projectile attack that explodes on your enemy. The second move is even cooler because it summon downs a huge sword with electric type effect on it, and it multi-hits, and its design is amazing, which honestly makes the King's Legacy Saber design just way better in every single way. And now that we're done with all these weapons, let's move on to the fighting styles. The fighting styles are pretty equal in each game, as you'll see on the screen. For the half robot or cyborg fighting style in both games, they have their own unique abilities, and since I'm not that far in the anime, I can't really say if one of them's better than the other, but the designs both seem good, so I'd say that in fighting styles in both games, they are both equally matched. But now that we're done with the Devil Fruits, the fighting styles, and the weapons, we can finally move on to how close it is to the anime. First, let's start with Blox Fruits. Blox Fruit Island order is decent, but honestly not very good. The first island that you even go to is the Monkey Island, which Luffy doesn't really go to for a while, unless I'm mistaken. The NPCs are pretty good. They have similar figures and designs as to the anime, but the bosses, even though their designs are good, they don't even do attacks that they do in the anime. They just do random made-up attacks from the creator of the game. Some do, but most of them are just event bosses or raid bosses, but the normal ones don't do it. And even at some islands where there should be bosses, there aren't bosses, which is kind of weird. But overall, Blox Fruits is pretty similar to anime, and even the Devil Fruits are somewhat similar, but they do not have enough. And also, the Devil Fruits shapes just don't make any sense. They're way too blocky. But now, let's move on to the King's Legacy similarity to the anime. King's Legacy's Devil Fruits are way more similar, considering they have different shape, and there's way more Devil Fruits in the game overall. The NPC bosses are way more similar as well, because they have actual attacks from the real anime, but the NPC quest givers don't look anything like they would in the anime. They're just random skins gave to them. So the Devil Fruits and the NPCs are good, and so are the ships and everything. So I would say King's Legacy has pretty good similarity to the anime, and Blox Fruits and King's Legacy are both tied in this section. Now let's finally move on to which game you should actually play. Okay, those of you who skipped ahead, welcome, and those of you who watched the whole video, thank you a lot. I was gonna make a graph for each section and show why each person won, but I think if you watch the whole video, it's pretty obvious that King's Legacy takes the win. King's Legacy just has way better graphics, bosses, and everything else that makes a game fun, and honestly, Blox Fruits just doesn't stand up to the fame that's given. Now, when the newest update comes out, things might change, but I highly doubt you can change that much with one update. But who knows? It's been months since the last update, so I may be proven wrong. But remember, this is based off all the assessments I've done, so if you don't agree, don't go and spam hate in the comments. Now, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any future videos. If you have any video ideas, comment it down below, because I'm a small YouTuber trying to get bigger, and your help will always be appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Butterscotch caramel colors with curtains. You might need a recipe. Based out a burger. The sauce that I'm dishing out so that my herder.